and today this is being recorded with permission. I'm on with Dr. Ray Foxworth. Good afternoon, Ray.
Good afternoon, sir.
This podcast is an interesting topic, and based upon my relationship with doctors around the country, and I consult clients in 48 states, and I lecture to lawyers in 33 states. A lot of them, like over 250,000 of them, including, I'm couching, by the way, how I'm going to be introducing you. I lecture inside the carriers as well, and I've been inside almost all of them. State Farm, Allstate, Geico, Encompass, Risco, Progressive, Nationwide, Fireman's, USAA, blah, blah, blah. I've spoken to all of their attorneys. In addition, dealing with courts and the rulings of the courts about doctors and what the carriers are doing, there has been an alarming trend. And as a result of what I see, and specifically in the field, and it's not just in personal injury, it's also in managed care, et cetera. And Ray, you and I are perhaps the two most qualified people in the country to discuss this alarming pattern. And I'm starting to see carriers and now plaintiffs' attorneys, including defense attorneys, the ones representing the carriers and the ones representing our doctors, now all starting to go onto the same side of the table and gang up against the doctors for a dual fee system. Now, if we just digress for a half a moment, the carriers, we know, are going to look for a reason not to pay your claim, and they'll even take your license away. There's no heart there. There's no conscience. They don't care that you spent years and years to do what you need to do to get there. They'll just take it away to avoid paying that claim. The defense lawyers who work for the carriers will do the same thing, because the more they discredit you, the doctor, and if they get you accused of being a greedy doctor and get someone to understand what's going on, you can lose your license and perhaps at the most extreme scenario, lose your freedom and certainly your money. And by the way, they might not be wrong, and I get rid of the word might not, because there are certain laws that preclude you from what you're doing. But now we're starting to see the plaintiff's attorneys starting to use that as a wedge not to pay liens and saying, well, the doctor is greedy, and I'm doing this right now with multiple doctors, 2 in Tennessee, 1 in New Jersey, 1 in California, 1 in Texas, where they're starting to say, well, I don't pay you lien because you have a dual fee system and that's not legal. So, Ray, I'm sure you've heard this all before, because this is the core of your business. And for full disclosure, you do have a business, which ChiroHealth USA, this is not an advertisement for that business, but being in the industry, you understand this more than everyone in the country. So maybe you could just continue a little bit of what I was sharing and then explain it a little deeper.
Sure, Mark, I'll be glad to do so. So interestingly enough, the very thing that you're talking about now is the very reason that I started ChiroHealth USA, and it wasn't because of what I heard was happening to everyone else. This actually happened in my office, Mark. I was taking care of a cash patient, and her and her family and kids, and charging probably $45 a visit. I'm happy, they're happy, until she was involved in an auto accident like 6 months after, and I billed my normal fee. And unfortunately, the patient didn't see that I was just trying to help her when she was a private pay. She came in and said, hey, I saw what you billed to State Farm, and this guy's like you ripping off the insurance companies to keep me from affording health care. And oh, by the way, I've reported you to your state attorney general. So it wasn't just something that I decided, hey, I want to start a network and go nationwide with it. I literally had this problem in my office, which led to me saying, this is never going to happen to me again. I've got to clean up my financial policies, because even if it isn't against the law, how does that look in the eye of a patient? You're charging $90, $100 to a PI, and they're 45 or 50 if they're cash. There's just no way that looks good. So I did a deep dive, because I was trying to cover my butt, quite frankly, to try to get this all right. And I will tell you, after doing this for a number of years, I think I've finally come up with the most simple financial policy that a doctor can have. And I'll be glad to share that resource with you, or hit the high points if you'd like at this point. You just tell me.
Well, if you give me a generic solution to doctors, that would be wonderful, because doctors are looking for a generic solution. But I'd also like you to discuss in generality, we're not lawyers, but you've been screwed in the system, and I've certainly counseled, not from a legal perspective, because again, we're not lawyers, many doctors and how to come up with a resolution for this. But if you could explain a little bit generically, and then talk about the potential illegalities of having a two-fee system.
Got it. So first of all, ChiroHealth USA is a network of doctors. We're up to about 5,000 providers now, over 700,000 patients that are part of our discount medical plan organization. We work with Aon, who is the umbrella we operate under. And the reason that I chose to utilize a discount medical plan organization to work with is because those entities are regulated by the Department of Insurance. In about 34, 35 of the states, the other states, they're either licensed or recognized or permitted to do business. So I wanted to run toward the regulations to figure out how I could offer legal, compliant, and simple discounts to my patients. And it was that DMPO model that I found. Now, just so you know, I didn't make this model up. These DMPOs are actually owned by the insurance companies. And what happens is a doctor joins our network. We contract with the DMPO. Now the doctor is able to set their discount fees at whatever level they choose, and they have the golden goose. It is the contractual network discount that makes these discounts legal and not an issue with PI or workers' comp or private payers, because guess what Blue Cross, Aetna, and Cigna use? The contractual network discount. So I sought out the safest model that I could possibly have in my practice to be able to have a better price, if you will, or a more affordable price for our cash patients, people with limited benefits, high deductibles, co-pays. And quite frankly, I want to get paid if insurance is available, PI or comp, but I also want to keep care affordable for my other patients. And this model, I can tell you've been at this 10 years now, and we've never had the issue challenged. Why? Or this model challenged? It's because it's regulated by the Department of Insurance. So that was the safest place for us to go. Now, the problems that doctors can run into, and I borrowed this from Larry Markson and I always give him credit for it. In our profession, we have our mother, father, sister, brother fee, Uncle Dudley fee, buy 10 visits, get one free fee. Meaning we have a cash fee, a workers' comp fee, a PI fee, a group health fee, a Medicare fee. And doctors, here's what I want to encourage you to do. You have one fee for every service in your clinic. And then the only time that you give a discount is on one of the following circumstances. You're a participating provider in their health plan. That will be a Blue Cross, Aetna, Cigna. If they're covered by a state or federal program with a mandated fee schedule, that may be workers' comp or PI, or in some states that certainly it's Medicare and could be Medicaid. Or you can give a discount if you're part of a DMPO. And in our network, that's a network that you join. It costs you nothing to join it. Patients come in, they're offered membership for $49 a year. That covers them and their dependents. The other way is if you offer a prompt payment discount that is reasonable. That means 5 to about 20%, some say up to about 25%, or patients that meet poverty guidelines. So I literally have a one-page simple financial policy I can show to patients, and the top line says, in an effort to maintain compliance with various state and federal regulations, managed care and preferred provider agreements, as well as billing and coding guidelines, we've adopted the following financial policies. And it lists those 4 things out. Now, let me tell you the beauty of this, Mark. When I get a letter, and doctors, you're getting these letters, I don't know if you open your mail, but you should, you get letters that ask very specific questions. Do you offer any type of discounts? Do you offer any reductions in deductibles or copays? Do you offer any discounts that aren't reflected on the claim form? And if you're using a DMPO like ChiroHealth USA, the simplest way to answer that is we do not offer any discounts unless it is under the following circumstances. And you list those out and you're good to go. But if you're like a lot of doctors, and Susie at the front desk knows that you give a discount to Miss Jones because she's been seeing you for 30 years, you don't collect a deductible or copay on Ms. Smith because she's been with you 10 years, your staff may be filling out those questionnaires, and inadvertently your reply goes into a stack of, geez, what am I going to do Monday morning if I'm an auditor? So they're literally sending out requests for records that are asking these type of questions, and depending on how you reply is going to determine what they do next. So I encourage you, clean up your financial policy, Keep it simple, keep it profitable, but you got to keep it compliant.
All right. So the other scenario is there's a few things. Okay. Number one is we do know, and you shared with me, there is one state's attorney general that we're aware of that's actually actively investigating this as we speak, that are looking into, doctors who are not doing it properly. And, one of the things we learn about regulators is they like to make examples out of who they put their hooks into. Because of limited resources, they'll pick one or two, and then the next thing you know, those people go down hard. And you never know where they're going to go. And it might be just a blanket policy, and once they get that out to the carriers, and it becomes a felony, which it is, to have a two-fee system without any special kind of legal infrastructure, it gives the carriers carte blanche to go after everybody and just ask the question. And the carriers are very good at that. And, because they're giving you their money, they want it back and even then some.
Well, sure they do. I mean, the fines for anti-kickback and False Claims Act allegations, it's real simple. If you're normally providing a service for $50 or $75, and I can't believe doctors do this, but their actual fee for a service might be $50 or $75. If it's a PI, they send in a bill for $125 or $150. Well, that clearly is misstating your actual charges. And it's not just an attorney general or two that look at this. I actually have a Facebook posting from a doc who said that a Geico auditor she didn't know it was an auditor, walked into her office, asked about her fees for massage. They told them what it was if it was insurance, what it was for cash, and then gets her bills cut. And she posted on Facebook, hey, what am I supposed to do about this? Well, number one, don't post something like that on Facebook. Number two, have one fee, stick with it, and stick the criteria if you're offering discounts like I outlined in the financial policy.
Now, the other thing we're seeing is when lawyers don't want to pay liens. And there are some lawyers out there on the plaintiff side representing the patients, and everyone says, the lawyer's cutting my fees. He's giving me 30, 40, 50, 60 cents on a dollar. And when I tell them no, they won't pay anything. And then when I press them, I get in the mail, well, you've got a two-fee system, and that's illegal, and I'm reporting you. Now, I've seen that, a lot. Now, just recently, and we have a whole system behind lien collection, which is really fair and equitable, and there's a whole business model behind it that lawyers like. But there's a few lawyers, and they're all their names is Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, okay, who really are unscrupulous and just don't want to pay, and they'll dig their heels in. So what I share with our doctors is, should you have your infrastructure secure and set, then you can render a complaint against the lawyer's license to the state ethics bar. And that is a licensure violation if found guilty. And often many of the lawyers just cave in and say, I'm paying the bill. They don't want to deal with it because they know they're doing something inappropriate. However, lately we're finding the lawyers digging their heels in and saying, well, we're not paying because, and here's the response to the ethics board, okay, which is their licensure board, which says, well, this doctor normally charges $40 a visit, but now he's charging $150 a visit. Therefore, this greedy doctor doesn't deserve more than I just paid him. Those are his basic words. And the doctor is functioning beyond the law. Therefore, there's no need for me to comply. That's how they're responding. And in almost every case, the answer is, are you part of that discount plan? Do you have that? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then the only answer is to go to your state Department of Insurance, your licensure board, and see if there's any regulation, et cetera, which we all know that in most states there are. But nonetheless, this preemptively resolves that particular issue. That argument just goes away in a heartbeat. But that is a current trend and a growing future trend in all 50 states.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So
I have to share one thing with you. When you talk about these auditors that might come into an office and take a look around, just to kind of give you an idea of how rock solid this type of model is. There was a doctor we met at one of our events, and he said, I'm not part of Chiro Health USA, but I was part of another network years ago, kind of like it. And he said I had a State Farm, or it might have been Aetna, auditor come in and said, I'm here to look at your fee schedule. I've got your bill of what you submitted to us, but I've heard you charge less. May I see your fees to your cash patients? And the doctor opened up his little compliance manual or whatever he had. He said, well, actually, we don't offer any discounts to people unless they're part of our discount or part of this discount medical plan. And the doctor retold the story. He said, oh, you use that? Yeah. He closes his book and left.
Yeah.
So when they realize that you know at least what they know and you've taken steps to do things the right way and to be compliant, and it's following guidelines and regulations that are put by the Department of Insurance, can you imagine for a moment if Blue Cross walked in my office and said, hey, I hear Aetna is paying you less, you've got a dual fee schedule? Would that ever happen, Mark? Absolutely not. Why? Because I have a contractual network discount, and that's what this model is.
Here's the other thing that I would strongly urge you to do. If someone from State Farm, Allstate, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Kaiser, anyone comes to your office, do not entertain them. Turn it right over to your attorney and make sure your lawyer has all of these pieces of information so that they can make it go away. And the reason being is myself, Dr. Foxworth, we've been through the wars. We kind of know what to say and what to do, but most doctors get awfully nervous and share too much and say too much. So just give the documentation to your attorney, let them respond, let them do. They will protect you from you. But without these tools, they can do nothing.
You know, Mark, I'd like to weigh in on that as well. You have to understand that someone that works for those entities or a regulatory board, they don't wake up on Monday mornings or Tuesdays and go out and decide to do cold calls. If they show up at your office, they already have you, or they think they do. And so while they may come in and be as nice and kind and courteous to your staff and, oh, doc, I just got a couple of questions for you, you must understand there is a reason they are crossing your threshold. And if you don't take Mark's advice on anything else, take it on that, because you're not just on the radar. They've got a laser focus on you. Otherwise, they would not have come to your office.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because right now, here's what the carriers are doing. Here's their newest trend. And I see this happening. It's happening in two states definitively, which means if I see it in two states, it's cross state borders. It's multiple areas. The carriers aren't just looking at your individual patient anymore. That's what they used to do. They'd want 20 different patients. They look at the records. They look for patterns. Now what they're doing is they're looking at statistics. 90% of your patients use the same diagnoses. 95% of your patients have the same referral patterns. 96% have the same frequency of visits. But they can also say that 92% have a similar discount or multiple fees, that are not mandated by a state or federal authority. So they're looking at global statistics coming in, and it's amazing how they get that. And they also talk to your patients. They talk to your staff, not so much in the beginning, but towards the end. But they're going out and talking to their insureds. And they do that in the form of a survey. In other words, they'll give the insured a list. Did you see this doctor? What fee did you pay them? Have you seen them before? What fee did you pay them previously? Or they'll call and they'll start doing queries over the telephone. Because Ray is actually correct. Once they cross your threshold, you're their target. And remember, when you get to the SIU, which is Special Investigative Unit, most of the members who work for the carriers are on a commission base. They make more money. They're in a small retainer or a small salary. They make money predicated upon the recovery. So they're highly motivated to get your money. And the newest game is RICO, which is under the Federal Racketeering Act. I know factually that Geico and State Farm just increased their RICO division 400%. And not necessarily going against chiropractic. It's really across the board. They're looking at, we're not singled out. We're just someone who gets their money. RICO, the reason they do it, other than to scare the crap out of you, you get treble damages 3-to-1. So it's a big money maker. So the issue is it's very easy to do it right. It's very easy to do it wrong. but it's so easy to fix it for tomorrow. It's really that simple. So, Ray, I think we pretty much covered everything. Is there anything you'd like to add?
You know, if doctors listening would like a copy of that simple one-page financial policy, if they will send an email to info@Chiro Health USA and just put policy in the subject line, I'll send that right out to them. It'll be in a Microsoft Word format so they can tweak it, but I wouldn't tweak it too much, but they can tweak it to fit their practice. Hey, I know we're dealing with chiropractors. We're doctors of creativity, so we just make stuff up. You know that, Mark.
Right. And
so anyway, it'll give you a good basis and a good model to say whether you use ChiroHealth or not, and I obviously hope that you do, but you need to understand you need to get away from these multiple fee schedule, embrace the idea that I have one fee schedule. And I'd also encourage you to do one other thing. Eliminate from your vocabulary that you have a cash fee. Get rid of it. Don't have your staff talk about a cash fee on an incoming phone call. If they ask about your fees, we've got scripting and things to help with all of that, but you need to stress we have one fee. It applies to everyone for everything we do, but you may be entitled to a discount if, and you got the 4 bullet points. That is a rock-solid financial policy, and I wish every one of you would put that in place, whether you partner with a DMPO or not. If you do, we'd love to work with you.
Yeah, and by the way, this is going to be titled, the topic of this podcast is your cash fee and an urgent, come on, Mark, it just flew out of my head. Urgent compliance issue, something like that. But that's exactly what's going on. So, and that's what we're looking at. So listen, this is Dr. Ray Foxworth. I'm Dr. Mark Student. If you want to chit-chat, please feel free to call me at 631-786-4253. If you want to get that information from Ray, it's info@Chiro Health USA. And Ray, thank you so much. I look forward to chatting with you more.
All right. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.